Hello everyone, another video for you here. This time I want to answer people's questions that they submitted about the literary analysis essay. Again, I didn't get quite as many of these as I would have liked. I know this is a confusing essay, and I really do want to help you guys with it as much as I can. That's the reason I asked for questions like this. So again, if you didn't get around to it, you didn't see that I asked for questions there, please, send me an email, ask me a question. I would love to try to explain it more. Okay, but I'm going to go through these. Okay, so here's the first one. Somebody said, one question I have, how does the author's tone of the story enhance the theme? It's kind of an interesting question. That's not, I don't know if that exactly has to do with our literary analysis essay. I don't know if that's something you're going to write about necessarily. But when we talk about tone, we're talking about like word choice. This goes back to something we talked about with the descriptive assignment that we did at the beginning of the semester, where um, we talked about like the word choice and how that can give off like a vibe and have kind of a mood to it, and that's what we mean with tone, I guess. So like I don't know, in some stories it can have like I don't know, a sad tone, and maybe there's like a pessimistic message or something like that. Like there's ways that the tone can be like more happy or sad or scary or something, and that can connect to like what the story's trying to do or what's happening in the story for sure. Um, I guess what I could say about writing style with our story, Independence Day, is I think the biggest writing style thing is the flashbacks in the story. And I know that it makes it confusing, but I think it's also, something that makes the character like realistic, and it's just like a writing style that's like inside of the character's head. Everything that we hear is from Eve's point of view. And I think by having the flashbacks, because it's kind of how we are in real life, where like you see something and it reminds you of something else, and then you're thinking about some random event from 5 years ago that no one else would think of except for you, because that's just kind of how our minds work. We just make these sorts of connections. That's something I noticed with the writing style of this story. But yeah, I guess that's what I would say for that. Okay, next question. This person said, in the literary analysis assignment sheet, you had mentioned, and this is something I said on the sheet. It says, you should be making an argument out of a message you believe the text is sending. I get confused on that because we're supposed to write about a specific topic and stick with it throughout the story. But apart from having the facts and getting evidence from the source, how will I know that I'm writing this essay correctly? Do I have to prove the audience that I'm right? So I'm not totally 100% sure if I'm going to be answering your question the right way, or if I totally know what you mean. And if you want to send me an email, and maybe we can talk about it more, and I'll try to understand better. Um, so I know the idea of this is confusing. Send the idea of making an argument about the message the story is sending, but I don't know. The easiest way for me to explain it is to go back to what we talked about with like the SpongeBob episode and stuff, where we have a topic, right? And we're asking the question of what is the story trying to say about this topic? With the thing about going on strike in the SpongeBob episode, we said, well, is it trying to say that going on strike is a good thing or a bad thing, right? So it's kind of the same thing here. If you're doing gender or immigration, protesting, globalization, all the topics that we have, say, okay, the story is interested in this topic. There's something going on with this topic in the story. What is the story trying to tell us about this topic? What does the story want to show us about this topic? What's the message it sends? It's just like, is it trying to say that the thing is good or bad? Like protesting, is the story trying to show us that protesting is good and something that we should do and worth it? Or does it show us that protesting is, not worth it, or too dangerous or whatever? And we've talked about this. I've said this a lot, how, I think the message is maybe somewhere in the middle. It's dangerous, but ultimately it's worth it, whatever. Um, Gender, are women able to overcome the sexism that they face? Well, the story shows how difficult it is, all the problems that they face, but they're still going to try. But we don't know if they're going to be successful in getting their independence, right? But it seems like they're going to try. So what's the story saying? I don't know, that it's important to try to overcome this kind of discrimination, even if you're not successful. Maybe you'll be successful, maybe you won't be, but you still have to try. Something like that. But anyway, the main thing here, and I know it's tough to understand, and if this doesn't make sense the way that I'm explaining it, please reach out to me and I'll try to find some other way to explain it. But it's just asking, like, what is the story trying to show us about this topic? What is it trying to say about this topic? What's like the takeaway for us? Um, and as far as this person saying, Do I have to prove to the audience that I'm right? Yeah, you have to prove to the audience that you're right, that the story, is sending the message that you're saying it is sending. Like, if you're telling me the story is trying to show us that the immigration system is flawed because it keeps people from getting in their independence and it takes too long and whatever, if that's what the story is saying, again, it's not about if that's what you believe about the immigration system. It's about what the story believes about it. That's where our focus is. So you were trying to, if that's what you were trying to say, yeah, you need to convince us that that's true, and you would do that by, using quotes from the story to show us that this is what the story's saying, to show us that this is the takeaway the story wants us to get. You're going to have to use quotes from the story, things that the characters say, what happens to the characters, the plot. You're going to have to use that stuff, but you only want to mention it. You only want to summarize the parts and include the quotes that are going to help to prove your argument. So if you're writing about immigration, then a quote about gender maybe has nothing to do with your argument, so maybe we don't need that one. It depends which topic you're doing. But yeah, you're making an argument, so you are trying to prove to the audience that you are right. You're trying to prove them that your interpretation of the story is correct and that there's evidence for it. So you're sticking with the one topic in the story, but you're trying to the argument you're making is that this is what the story is telling us about the topic. It's telling us that immigration is difficult. It's telling us that protesting is dangerous, but ultimately it's worth it. It's telling us that globalization is bad and hurts the people where the resources are coming from, and that it's not for the good of all. Whichever topic you're doing. But as long as you're focused on what the story's trying to say about the topic, you'll be going in the right path, and I think you'll get a good grade on this essay. Okay, the last question that I got here. This person said they had a confusion because I got a lot of quotes from the story, and I tried to kind of sync it up with the quotes I used from outside sources. My question is, will it be okay to not put in my works cited page? You were very clear on us not using the story as a source, but to show how it tied in with what was going on. Again, so I'm a little confused here. Not totally sure if I'm answering your question directly. But having quotes from the story is good. In terms of the works cited page, yes, you need to have the works cited page. With the research and the citation stuff, listen, guys, I'm really not that worried about it. When I'm grading your essay, like, I want you to try to do the research. I want you to try to get the citations. But this class is really focused more on just getting the essay writing down. You know what I mean? So if you try to do the research and you just can't do it, it just doesn't work. Just hand in the essay anyway. You know what? Just write it without the research. Hand it in, and I might take off a few points or whatever, but it's not going to be some drastic thing. I'm not going to like fail the essay because it doesn't have research. I'll take off, I don't know, 5, 10 points or something. You can still get a good grade if you make an argument, and if you definitely need quotes from the story though. So I want the works cited page. I want the citations. I want the research. But if you give it your just give it your best shot. If you can't make it happen, then you can't make it happen. Still hand in the essay. Don't let that be something that keeps you from handing in the essay. Because if you don't hand in the essay, it's really going to mess with your grade. And if you say don't have the citations or you don't have the research, but you have 4 pages and you make an argument about the message the story's sending, you can still get a pretty decent grade, and your grade for the course can still stay pretty decent. So I would say have the works cited page, definitely. Give it a shot. Because again, my view about this stuff, guys, is that I'm trying to prepare you for what's coming next, what you're going to see in English composition, what you're going to see in your higher level courses. That's why I'm asking you to do this stuff. But I'm also aware that we're all getting used to this stuff. This is the first time that we're doing this, maybe, or the first time we're doing it in a long time. The first time we're doing it at this level. So I'm very aware of that. I'm not going to be too judgmental. I'm not going to be too harsh. I'm not going to be, too much of a dick about it. So give it your best shot with the research. Do what you can, but hand in the essay. Try to meet all the requirements, hand in the essay. So in terms of the story not being a source, I think what I was saying there is that it doesn't count as an outside source. I asked for 2 outside sources for the essay, and I said the story doesn't count as an outside source. The story definitely is something that you need to be citing from, though. You need to be quoting the source. If we're including the story, then we need 3 sources, right? One of them being the story, and then the 2 outside ones. So you definitely should be quoting from the story. The story is your main evidence. It's the main way you're going to back up your argument. So again, I just really hope this thing about making an argument about the message it's sending, I hope that this is starting to make sense now. It's just looking at whatever topic you're interested in and asking, what is the story saying about this topic? Your answer to that question will be a good argument. It'll be a thesis. So start there. Use the quotes that you need to back up what you're trying to say. Prove to the audience that what you're saying about the story is correct. And yeah, again, please get in touch with any other questions that I can try to answer. All right, see you soon.